Man City concluded their pre-season preparations with a 3-0 friendly win over sister club Palermo in Sicily on Saturday. Erling Haaland opened the scoring. Pep Guardiola's side before summer signing Tijjani Reijnders scored twice in the second half as City ran out comfortable winners. Now, before we get your thoughts on a few individuals and individual performances, what did you make of the occasion and the match overall, Stephen? It was an enjoyable sort of fun game to watch, wasn't it? And it was obviously, of course, a positive for City to end pre-season on a high heading into the new season.
Pre-game show as well, by a woman dressed as a cloud, interestingly, and spectacular views as well of the stadium. Lovely place, and the vibes were fun by the looks of it. The overall game I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought Savini was really good in that as well in the second half, for what it's worth, apart from the miss. A lovely little assist. But yeah, I felt the game was fun. We learned a lot about Manchester City, a lot of the players on either side of the half, because it was obviously two halves, two 11s, slightly two 10 changes the second half until McAsser came on. But ultimately, it was a completely different 11 that ended the game than the one that started. And I felt there were good showings from either side. And there's more to add to that when the return of Vardiel, Rodri, Foden to come back into the team. It was fun. The first half was like essentially, it felt like Guardiola logged onto his burner account online and picked all the fan favourites because it was an incredibly aggressive, young, flamboyant side with lots of energy, a lot of creativity. Yeah, really enjoyable. I mean, I go through that team. I didn't expect to see, Kusanov start alongside John Stones, but it worked. It was good fun. Kusanov with his pace, his dynamism. Guardiola said he had incredible potential after the game, one of the fastest players he's ever seen, and absolutely. And Stones, the elegant senior man alongside him, looking sharp, looking really fit actually, alongside Kusanov. That was a really fun partnership. Rico Lewis looking alive, with players who have movement ahead of him in Bob and Shirky and so on. And yeah, I think he enjoyed that as well. Trafford, look, it's like a sloppy first minute, but I'll put that down to it being the first ever minute as a senior player for Manchester City Football Club. After that, fine. Aiton Nori continues to show how technically gifted he is, going forward. The midfield was fun with the two Nicos there. They didn't grab the headlines or anything, but they were fine. Shirky looks full of life and creativity, and flair. And Oscar Bob, maybe Guardiola saw enough to move Savinho on there, but either way, Oscar Bob showed that he sort of back where he was just before the injury last season that curtailed what would have been hopefully a breakout season for him. Yeah, Oscar Bob looked full of life and creativity, and that pace was still there. And Haaland scored a lovely goal. Then into the second half, it came the Tijjani Reijnders show. Reijnders was absolutely ridiculous. And obviously, it's a second tier Italian side. But that movement is undeniable. The hunger, the thirst for goals. He should have had a hat trick in the most spectacular of fashions until he tripped over his own feet. But the finish of the two goals, Frank Lampard. That's what I was getting from him. The quality of the finishing reminded me of like Alvarez at City. In his position and his movement, really, really, really impressive. And as much as he can play as a six, and Guardiola's hinted at that, you want that guy further forward because that movement, like, yeah, it's so impressive. And then you see the cameo for the young lad Mikasa, 17 years old, Divine Mikasa, one of the best young talents that you've got in the academy, signed for West Ham a couple of years back. Yeah, and he looked like he belonged. 17 years old, but pushing 6 foot, elegant, floating around the pitch with confidence. Got an assist, of course, with a lovely little flick to Reinders. It was a fun game. Lots of lovely little stories to take from it. Some claims made for a starting 11 spot against Wolves next weekend. And yeah, ultimately, lots of fun. The players that I wanted to see did well. The young lad did really well. Reinders looks to be a special player. Haaland looking sharp, captain the side, and I think even the senior players when they came on, like Bernardo and Gundogan, they look steady, they look good. Gundogan particularly played a lovely pass over to Savino, wasted chance. But of course, Savino, by the way, showed a little bit why I'm frustrated. I think Savino's been lacking runners, and like, the passes inwards to Reinders, who had the ability to burst past people and get a shot away. He'll love that Savino. Like Gundogan and Bernardo couldn't do that last season, and well, this guy can, and yeah, it makes me want to see it more.
Yeah, exactly so. And of course, one player who did grab the headlines was Reinders. As mentioned before, he scored twice and came close to completing his hat trick, like you said then. And he's already shown his attacking threat then at City, and he also scored 15 goals for Milan last season as he was named Serie A midfielder of the season. After the win over Palermo, Guardiola hailed Reinders as a special player arriving in the box, and we saw that a lot, didn't we, on Saturday, sort of making those forward runs into dangerous positions and you expect that more then from the Dutchman this season? How impressed have you been by him so far?
It's so good. By the way, if he's midfielder of the season Serie A, but Tomlin up for the Ballon d'Or. Where's his Ballon d'Or nomination
Mm.
as well? By logic, I don't truly care about that, but maybe in 12 months we'll be sat there talking about it anyway. Because, yeah, I've been incredibly impressed. He looks like the most obvious banger of a signing since Haaland to me in terms of like he looks like he's going to fit this team like a glove. I obviously argue Guardiola maybe, but I think Reinders looks like Guardiola's going to absolutely adore him. I mean, we've seen him play a little bit deeper, get the ball, and be so composed and so intelligent with his movement and his touch and his spatial awareness is excellent. But that extra, like, we've got the X factor essentially. You know, I look at like Nico Gonzalez looks like a really good player, and I think he'll become a good footballer. But Reinders has an X factor. Like, there's an element of like, well, what can he do? Everything essentially, and to that have that drive for goals, and they are the like people like Reinders are the players that go to the very top and become truly elite footballers. This is the reason why Gundogan's become a legend at City because he has that insatiable desire for big moments. You know, the clutch mentality to borrow an American term, like, and I think Reinders clearly has that. You know, he clearly has all the ability, but then if you add goals to that as well, it's frightening. And that power, he's going to add an awful lot alongside the likes of Rodri and Shirky and Foden and so on, and the experience of Gundogan and Bernardo Silva too. Yeah, he looks like a nailed on starter, a nailed on fantasy football signing for so many people, given he's only about 5 million on there. Like, yeah, he looks brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So much ability, so much aggression. And it's not just aggression without a touch as well, like the skill to get past people as well. What should have been his hat trick goal, we rounded the keeper with a little roll of the ball. Just lovely stuff, man. So silky. I can't wait to see more of him. I think he's going to be a special footballer for City.